Hi, my name is Susan and welcome to Sketchbook Stories. In this series I'm going to open up the pages of my own sketchbooks to show you exactly what's inside. Let's get stuck in. Hello and a huge welcome to this episode of Sketchbook Stories, and today I'm opening up the pages of this big sketchbook that I have, and it is a C. Whites of Brighton hard-backed, like board-backed, ring-bound sketchbook. It's A4 in size, and I like to use an A4 sketchbook when I want just a little bit more space and I'm kind of playing and experimenting, or just need a little bit more space than some of my smaller sketchbooks like this that are very portable. Now this page here is a page of what I would call shadow drawing, and I did this page of sketching as part of a tutorial that I delivered relatively recently, January 2024, as part of my annual 30-day sketchbook challenge. And our prompt for the day was shadows. And I had been playing with these pages. I've actually got a couple of these pages because I love sketching plants. I love looking at shape, but I also like working quickly. I like to play and experiment quickly, and this was all about finding shapes in different leaves and things that I picked from the garden, about overlapping. But this took just a couple of moments and I had a lot of fun. So I went out into the garden, I collected some little things of leaves. This was just two different little branches of leaves, and all you need is a few brush prints. So I'll give you a quick demo. I'll show you how I did this, because then you can have a go should you want to yourself. So what I would suggest that you do is you go and pick some little branches or leaves from your garden. I did some deadheading of my roses relatively recently. So I've got these little seed heads here that I think I will use today just to quickly show you. And all you need is a couple of brush pens. So I've got these Copic markers which have brush ends like this. You could use Tombow brush markers, you could use Pitt Artist pens, or you could even just use pencil or any sort of pen. I quite like using the grey because it is similar colour to like a shadow, and you just need access to some lighting that from above over the top of the page will give you some interesting shadows. So with a relatively steady hand, she says as this wibble wobbles, just place your item over your page so that you can see the shadow. And then using your pen, essentially just trace the shadow in. I tend to go relatively quickly, but you can take your time. Thing I find quite funny is that your hand and the pen often creates a shadow, so sometimes you've got to move back to remember where the initial shadow was, and that's the first one there. So let me just quickly pop that back and extend. There we go. And then you can move it about and sort of design where you want your things to be. I quite like to turn the sketchbook around. I find that easier than trying to sort of be a little bit confused and cack-handed. But this is such a fun exercise and a way of getting something down on the page relatively quickly. And what it does do is it really helps to explore shape, the shape of whatever item it is that you're drawing. Sometimes when we draw from life, when we're doing representational drawing, it can be difficult to get the right length, shape, proportions on something. So this is actually a very, very handy way of understanding and just seeing the shapes. By taking out all the other information, we are just seeing the shape, the outline, the contour. So it's a really great way of studying shapes. And you can use anything you want. Like I've got some like feathers here. I mean, these are quite cool shapes to study as well. Let me have a little go at that. I'm going to choose just a different marker just to show you can do it with different things. And again, this also helps you with planning composition, because I'm just moving things. I'm moving my page around to fill some of the spaces. I quite like layering up the plants, but let's just see what this little feather looks like. And what this is showing me when I'm doing this is that the feather has really fluffy ends here and then smoother shapes around the rest of it. And I'm just seeing those little bits where the fronds of the feather, or whatever you call them, are just breaking apart slightly. This line is smooth, lovely smooth line. And then down here I've got fluffy, 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 fluffy. I've just done the outline there because what I wanted to show you is this just gave me different line qualities, and that was really interesting to explore. So it's a great learning process. And if I picked, let's say, this different feather here, look at those shapes. Let me just play with that. I'm really trying to get that outline, just those tiny little differences, like that shape, that is fluffy little bits at the ends, and then how the shape changes here, and it just gets, there's all this fluffy, 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 and it's really helping me with my powers of observation, seeing the difference in here, around there, to those fluffy lines there. So it's really fun, and that's what this page was all about. That's the story behind that sketch. I was looking for something to fit into the theme of shadows. I picked some things that I found interesting, some shapes I wanted to explore, and had a play with these marker pens. You can, of course, just use pencil, biro, anything that you've got. I quite like the greyness of these markers for giving different tones and values because it looks like a shadow on the page, but it's such a wonderful exploration of shape and form. So yeah, that's the story behind this sketchbook page, and look, I've just created another one in the meantime. Have a lot of fun, have a go at this if you would like to, and I will see you again for another episode of Sketchbook Stories.